Hello from me, Scott from Peopleton, joined by my good friend and co-presenter Matty Sanders, here to talk all about the Peopleton Autumn Show.
The Autumn Show will take place on Saturday the 7th of September from 12 midday here at the Cricket Club in Peopleton near Pershore. Entry is £5 on the gate and under 16s go free.
The Autumn Show is one of Peopleton's most prestigious events of the year, and you'll see why as we go through all the incredible things the show has to offer. We spoke to Peopleton Parish Council resident and organiser of the Peopleton Autumn Show, Nigel Clay, to find out what is in store for this year's show.
The show's very important. It contributes perhaps a 10,000 profit if the weather's good, net profit, which goes to support the church. Donations go to the village hall, the scouts, the Girl Guides. They also, the cricket club benefit in quite a way. So all in all, it's a great community money raiser, but it's a great community bringing together.
As it's growing and getting different every year, I mean, what can we expect to see at this year's show then?
Classic cars, a number of steam engines, old fire engines, classic military vehicles, which this year they decided to try and get more, to make more out of it. We've got the archery again, which was quite new last year, which is for adults. The Droitwich Archery Club come and they've asked to do it again. We've got this year, we've got the Pershore Rugby Juniors, Minis. They've asked to come again. Then we've got the Sea Cadets. They're coming and giving a parade in the ring. And there's the usual circus skills for the children, free. Yeah. There's the bouncy castles. The cricket club provide beef burgers. Yeah. And they make a fair bit of money for the cricket club themselves. We always have a raffle. That's again is a very good. That's run by Joanna. We've got one big marquee which fills up with local stalls, our stalls, which are bric-a-brac, fruit and veg, books, toys, all the usual stuff you'd find. The fruit and vegetable stall stands, they have all the competitions, they have the art competition, the portraits, everything. And it is very, very keenly contested, if you like. I wouldn't like to say who won last year's vegetable most points, but it'd be too modest of me to say.
No. I mean, you've got to celebrate, haven't you, really?
I held this huge cup up. Well, actually, it was about that big. Then there's the bar. We do sort of try and do food that's not meat. There's sort of alternatives. There's another marquee which has just the music. And that attracts a lot of people, that everybody enjoys that. And we've got the local wildlife association with they've got a stall. We've got a dog show for training the sheepdogs and how he does it and whatever, which is always very, very well welcomed. We've got children's games in there. We've got Zumba. We've got tug of war. Typical
classic.
The classic of the show. A lot of people come up and say, "Do you know, this takes me back 60 years, this show."
It's timeless.
It's timeless, it is.
This year, the Peopleton Autumn Show will be opened by our parish priest, Reverend Claire Billington.
We met up with Claire to discuss the all-importance of having a church within the community.
So thank you very much, Claire, for taking the time to chat to us about the Peopleton Autumn Show. And what's brilliant about you in our village community is that you share your faith in such a comforting way. But what I would like to know is, how did you find your faith? Did you come from a religious family?
Certainly not. My brother would definitely say, no, our family was not religious. He does not believe at all. But I used to go to church with my dad when I was very, very young.
Okay.
And I remember in the 1960s sitting on the floor at Fladbury School watching the rocket going through one of the rocket launches going up through clouds and thinking, they've gone through God's house.
Wow.
And just thinking how strange that was. Then over the years I stopped going to church, and it was probably a gap of about 30 years apart from getting married and from getting our son baptised. And then we had a house fire in 2005, and I remember standing at the top of our road, seeing the flames coming out of the roof of the house, and suddenly then thinking about where are Tim and Alex, and seeing that they were safe, seeing them down in Darnley Close, and feeling like we had a bubble of God around us, that we were in this bubble of God. And most of our possessions went up. We were worried about next door and whether it was going to spread, but we were safe, and we knew that that was that it wasn't the end of the world. And the first book that I bought after we'd had the fire was a Bible.
Right.
And I don't know where it came from, apart from me searching for something. But not just searching, looking into things as well, listening to what my mind was saying. So then going on courses, going to college, and suddenly, all of a sudden, being ordained.
And obviously the parish church is so important to the village community, in fact to any village community, not just Peopleton. But why do you think it's so important, especially in the world where we can come across all sorts of tribulations?
And I think that is exactly the reason why a church is so important. It can feel secure, you can feel safe. People might not come to church. In fact, a lot of people will say to me, I don't go to church, but then in the next breath they'll say, can you pray for me? It is a part of, just as you have sometimes you have a school, you have a shop, you have a pub, you have the church.
Yeah.
And the church does not change, much as we do try to keep in the 21st century now, but it is always there.
I know what you mean. It brings the community together really, really nicely, and especially in a village like Peopleton, where the community is such a tight unit. We're very much a family where we just pretty much, you can trust anybody around
and
here.
that is a big thing as well, that community that I would say does spread out from the church. A lot of people who don't go to church would not say that probably, but you walk anywhere in Peopleton and you can speak to people. They will answer back. They will speak to you, which it doesn't happen in all places.
You're going to be opening the village show this year, and obviously that is still again the village community coming together, and so many members of the village community are behind this show that put it all together, and so much work goes into it.
One of the many popular aspects for an outdoor event like the Peopleton Autumn Show is the food and drink.
We met up with John Fryer to talk about his locally brewed cider, Peopleton Press. Thank you so much for taking time to chat to us about Peopleton Press. So first of all, where did Peopleton Press start? How did this all come about?
So I think it was around about 2015. We were drinking cider in northern Cornwall, and to be quite honest with you, the cider that we were drinking was pretty rough and ropey, and we kind of decided that maybe 4 friends together could maybe make a better job of it. In the end, 2 of us just sort of had a go, struck out on our own, got some apples from a local orchard up at Cowsden that hadn't been used for years and years and years, and then in the garage we chopped away and we pressed away and we made a couple of 100 litres of cider.
Oh, that's really nice. Nice little bit of friendship, there to get you through there. So, what did you come from a cider background? Have you always been in the cider business?
Not always been in the cider business. Rob and I who make the cider. Rob works in HR for Jaguar Land Rover, and I teach at Wolverhampton University. But kind of generations back, my great granddad was a cider maker, and Rob's family are the Bulmers family originally from Hereford. So we've kind of got a bit of heritage there. But yeah, it was kind of a new thing to us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it is in your blood. It is there somewhere.
It is there.
Yeah, there we go. So, and how has the Peopleton Village Show had the impact on Peopleton Press as a business perspective, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean it's really great because we sell cider there. But really, it allows us to kind of touch base with our customers. You know, we can eyeball them. We can ask them what they think about our different types of varieties that we've got. So we do a dry, we do a medium dry, and we do a medium sweet cider. So we can just literally get a bit of feedback as well as selling it there, and people can taste it and try it, and kind of dispel those myths about you know, cider being a drink that, you know, teenagers get sort of drunk on for the first time and then never touch again. You know, we try and keep the quality of it as high as we possibly can.
Well, I was going to say it's known as, like, I suppose the apple wine. I suppose really it's actually quite an elegant drink. Really, we want to keep it that way.
Well, agricultural champagne, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who are like not local to Peopleton, who or may not be coming to the Peopleton show this year, how can non-locals purchase cider?
Oh well, you can always buy it off the internet. We deliver free anywhere in the Worcestershire area, but also we've got a load of stockists in and around Worcester. So there's different sort of craft shops, there's different sports clubs, there's you know, village shops that we supply it to. But you know, kind of word of mouth as well gets the message out there, and we get sort of recommendations and things like that from different people, really.
And also, I was just going to say, I've heard it that a bottle of Peopleton Press travelled quite far to Australia. Can you confirm whether this is true? Or
Yeah. We got photos of our cider all around the world in bizarre locations with just the bottle held up there, and someone smiling in front of a road sign, or Sydney Harbour Bridge, or somewhere in Thailand. So it does get out there.
Yeah, well, you know, world tour. There we go.
One day.
So yeah, I was just going to say, what's next for Peopleton Press? Is there anything new that we should be looking out for, maybe at the show this year?
Well, we launched earlier this year our dry variety.
Yeah.
But in the future, we really want to try and get our cider into kegs, and then maybe into different pubs and bars and restaurants, that sort of thing. That would be the kind of next step, really, as well as doing what we already do, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, fingers crossed. There we go.
Cheers.
And while you're enjoying a bottle of Peopleton Press while sitting on a comfy hay bale, no village show is complete without some fantastic live music.
We met up with the man who organises the music every year, Rob Phillips.
Rob, really, really nice to be chatting to you in your garden as well. A nice blue sky, sunny day.
Yeah, ignore the weeds behind me, sir.
Well, we're actually backed on to where the Peopleton Autumn Show takes place every year on the cricket club. We're not actually that far away.
Just over 2 fields. That's
You haven't got very far to walk, have you, on the day? So
just up the track.
Now, the thing is, obviously, you've been working on the music and organising music for the Peopleton Autumn Show every year that it's been on. And I always remember watching you in pantomimes that we used to have on back in the day in the village as well. So, you know, very theatrical, very performance, very musical. But have you always been interested in music? Where did it all start?
Probably when I was about 5 years old, I think.
Yeah?
Well, my father used to play the piano and my mother used to sing. So I grew up in a sort of very musical environment at home. I remember going up to London with my parents when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old to see the Trooping of the Colour, and I was absolutely fascinated with the bands, with the live bands that were up there, particularly the guy with the big drum at the end.
How did you get involved? How did you go from that to organising the music for the village show every year?
Steve Dexter, who was running the shop at the time, knew that I was involved in the ukulele club and I had a band and so on. So he asked me if I'd be interested in organising it. So I said, yeah, fine, I'll do it. So together with John Higginbotham up the road there, the two of us kind of put it all together, I suppose, yeah.
The Peopleton Autumn Show this year, in 2024, what can we expect this year on the music scene?
Well, very, very similar to previous years, really. I mean, I've got a bit of a formula now, and I've got some kind of resident musicians that I bring in every year, as long as they're willing to do it. So basically, to kick off at the start of the show, when it's still fairly quiet, we've got a jazz group. They're called A Touch of Jazz. That's right. Yeah.
And, I recognise the name.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for probably about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
So they'll do the first bit, and I think your sister is going to do a little bit because she sings.
Charlotte
so,
Murch.
Charlotte is coming back to do a little couple of songs for us.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got a ukulele band.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about them, Rob.
Yeah.
This is your band, obviously, we're talking about.
For some of the new residents of the village, the Peopleton Autumn Show is the perfect event that gives an insight into the spirit of the community.
This was something we discussed with fellow villager Brett Musser, who moved here from America. Brett, lovely to speak to you today about the Peopleton Autumn Show and your residency here in the village. So what I want to talk to you about first is, whereabouts in America are you from?
I come from a small town in northwest Kansas called Phillipsburg. So if you think 6 hours west of Kansas City and 6 hours east of Denver.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of the middle of nowhere.
So I suppose it begs the question, what brought you to the UK?
I had a Rotary Foundation scholarship and in 1980.
Okay.
And so I was in Wales to begin with, in Cardiff, at the University of Wales, and doing a theatre postgraduate program. So I did that for a year and then lived in New York for 3 years, because you have to do that if you're from Kansas, really. Came back over here, married an English subject, so that got me in the country.
Obviously you ended up coming over to Peopleton from, where were you living before?
We were in Purbright because my wife is a priest in the Church of England.
Yeah.
And so that was her last parish, and she retired. And so we came up here because her mum lived in Pershore, so we wanted to be near her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long ago were you moving over to Peopleton as a village?
About 5 years we've been here. Despite the fact that lockdown happened quite soon after we got here, it meant that we were quite dependent on a lot of the services in the community, like the shop, for instance, delivered to us during a lot of the time, because of course Chris has a bit of a lung condition, in which makes her particularly vulnerable to COVID. She would have been. So they delivered to us a lot. Over the years, I've started doing accompanying organ for the church. I'm a cover organist, so whenever the regular organist can't be there, I pop in and do that. And I think probably it's those village institutions that have really helped us along, like the church, like the shop. And I must admit, I need to get to the pub more, because obviously that needs support as well.
Well, I mean, you know, you've certainly settled into the village really nicely in the years that you've lived in the village. And then we've got obviously events like the Peopleton Autumn Show, which is a huge thing for the Peopleton village community to put together. Have you been to the show over the years? Yes,
and I was really surprised at the size of it. It's really a huge thing, and they just fill the place with, you know, the old cars, and I think we went to a band on an evening from the autumn show. I think that's what it was connected with, and we really enjoyed that. That was a very pleasurable time.
Well, I mean, the show has got so much to offer for people to enjoy who have possibly never experienced the show before, or are newer residents like yourself to the village to enjoy. So you mentioned earlier that you were from Kansas. So rural America, and now you're in rural Britain in little village Peopleton. So how do you compare rural America to rural Britain?
I think something that's very special about Peopleton that we don't have in my old hometown is that you've got a lot of lovely paths to walk around the village and around the surrounding area.
That's nice places to take Minak, your lovely dog.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure he enjoys the village life as much as you do.
And of course, that's how you meet a lot of people, is if you've got a dog and you meet other dogs and the people that are connected to them. And that can be a really important part of your life.
Britain is seeing less community engagement in rural villages like Peopleton, and yet we've kept the autumn show and loads of other events of ours going in the recent years. But why do you think events like the Peopleton Autumn Show are so important to a village community? Why is a village community so important?
This is rural life, and this is, we are very lucky that in this church that some of the proceeds of the autumn show do come to the church, and that is following on really from the church fetes that we would have had years ago, probably on the lawn here. But things did get much larger, and they just carry on because they're enjoyable. It is a lot of work though, but it is, looking back, it is full of memories.
You get that real mix of kind of young people and old people. That sense of community is really important. It's a day where people enjoy themselves.
Yep.
You wander around the field and people are smiling and having a laugh and participating in all those different things. And I think that it's something that we can kind of be proud of, and it kind of paints the area in a good light, and it's really inclusive too.
I think it's absolutely essential. I mean, in a sense, it brings the community together. I regard it a bit like the glue that holds the community together in that sense, because everybody comes along to it. People have a thoroughly good time during the day. There's lots of different things going on, and you get to interact with people that perhaps you don't see very much throughout the rest of the year, and people get to know each other a lot better. So I think it's absolutely important, really important to keep the community going and to get people away from their television screens, perhaps.
I think every community needs these little festivals to bubble up excitement now and then, and to get people out and talking to each other and mixing, because I think although you might go to the shop, you might go to the church, you might go to the pub, sometimes those become exclusive communities, and something like the Autumn Show can bring all that together, and people from outside who maybe, have never been to Peopleton, or, might just want, a day out in the country, and that's an opportunity for them to experience, what life in a village might be like.
I'm amazed in this village. If somebody is not well, I mean, how many people will go round and find out and support that person? Even from anybody who goes to church, or not even church people. Everybody looks after, they take them food, they take them lunches. And once everybody gets to know each other, I think there's a kindred spirit. Well, let's do this. It's what we always do, and we must keep it going.
Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
My pleasure.
And I'll look forward to the Peopleton show.
Come to the show.